So he started playing this trippy acid type psychedelic stuff. I'm like, so I started playing cymbals and toms and just vibing. And I'm like, you know what, sooner or later we gotta get a beat going here. So I started getting into a beat. I kept building it and building it and building it until I built it into a frenzy of like, you know, really playing hard and fast like they do. And then when we were done, I said, well, was there anything you didn't like about that? You want me to try it differently? He put a big smile on his face. And I didn't know why he was smiling, but I knew later what that meant was he went, oh, I can work with this guy. He wants to try to make me happy. That's my feeling. And he went, yeah, let's do it again. Even more colors. Even more trippy. That was it. He said, well, nice playing with you. Went home, next day I got a call. You got the gig. The weird thing about that audition was when the manager called me to do the gig, he says, well, the only thing is if Billy likes you, you get accepted, I need you to say yes. I went, well, yeah, I definitely want to do it. I want to do it. But how can I say yes before I know, what are we doing? Are we touring? And how long is it? And I'm just curious. I mean, we haven't even talked about what you're paying me. I can't say yes. They were trying to get me to say yes before anything. I'm like, you don't say yes. That's like agreeing to like anything. You got the gig, you said yes, fantastic. All right, you drive yourself, you fly yourself, and we don't pay you. You said yes. I knew they wouldn't do that, but anyway. All these things are different. They're all so different.
When you're on tour, I know from reading your rhythm diary that you're obviously very busy. You know, when you're on tour, if you can say you get a night off, you perhaps try and check out a local band, and when you're doing a festival, you try and look and watch the other drummers, up and coming drummers, to sort of see, you know, what they're doing.
I don't go out as much as I used to when I'm on tour because, first of all, we're moving. A lot of tours after the gig, you get on a bus and drive through the night. And if you do stay in town, a lot of times if you're going to fly to the next gig, most of the time they want to get you to the next city as fast as possible. With Chickenfoot, we're going to have a private jet, so that's different. But I don't go out as much as I used to because, first of all, we get done. It's by the time I leave the dressing room, it's midnight. And if I have a show the next day, I'm all about recovering. And also, a lot of times, I got to go back to my hotel and work for 2 or 3 hours on all my other projects. But right now, I got to write, oh my God, I got to write 4 charts out for one artist from South America to record. I leave here on the 20th. 21st, I have a session, 3 songs for a guy from New York. The 22nd, I have to work with Randy Jackson on something, a new artist, plus these 4 songs from this guy, Beto, from South America, and then a possible other song for a movie. So I got a lot of charts to write, plus I got about 8 new songs to write for John Fogerty because, I mean, I'm booked right now until December 6th, you know. So, and I got to go, like for example, after those sessions, the 21st and 22nd, 23rd and 24th, I'm rehearsing with John Fogerty. That means I've got to learn 8 more songs because we're getting ready to play in New York City. One night, the Green River album. The next night, the Cosmos Factory album. Each one of those albums were famous, and they're filled with hits. And we're going to play the album from top to bottom. So I've got to learn a bunch of these songs. So that makes me realize now I have to learn 5, 8, 16 songs. You know, so tonight I'll be in my room writing songs out. Then after that I go to Phoenix to play a show with John. Then I go to the next day to New Mexico to do a drum clinic on the DTX Yamaha electronic drums. Then I fly the next morning real early, land, and go right into the studio with John Fogerty starting a duets record. The 27th, 28th, 29th, I'm with Chickenfoot rehearsing. 30th, I moved to San Francisco to get ready for the pre-production with Chickenfoot. I'm basically with Chickenfoot until November 9th. One of those days I'm recording with John Fogerty and doing the Jimmy Kimmel TV show and flying. That's in one day. Then after the 9th, 10, 11, 12, I'm in Florida with John Fogerty, fly back to LA for one day. The next day I go to San Francisco, do a drum clinic. Next day I fly back to New York and I do the 2 shows at the Beacon Theater. Then I go to Atlantic City, play a show. And one of those days I'm in New York, I'm doing a masterclass. Then I fly back to LA, it's November 21st, yeah. Then on the 20th, that's Thanksgiving in our country, then have 3 days to either do sessions or recuperate. Then I take off and go to Canada with Fogerty for 3 days to play. Then I fly to LA for one day, then it's the 30th, I fly to Columbus Percussion to do a clinic, and then the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, I'm doing the Kennedy Center Honors in Washington, D.C., and I guarantee you, between now and then, I'm going to get a bunch of phone calls, and I'm going to have to try to figure out how I'm going to record on those days that I'm already working, you know.
Do you have a manager, or do you organise all this yourself?
I'm organizing it all myself now. I used to have an assistant, but now I'm doing it myself. But I have an accountant that pays all my bills, and if I have any business questions about anything to do with money, I talk to her. So it helps, but yeah, it's pretty much doing it myself right now.
Okay. I was just wondering, why have you got your high toms the opposite way around?
Oh, I switched these toms back in 1981 when I was with John Mellencamp. I had recorded this famous song called Jack and Diane. It had a big drums solo, big break in the middle of the song. It was a big #1 hit, and it's still played on the radio now, 20, 30 years later. And it was with 4 toms. But when I went on tour, he went, no, I only want 1 rack tom, 1 floor. He just wanted to have that kind of real basic look. So I had only 1 tom. Now this is right before I got my endorsement with Tom. So I had a 12-inch tom, and I had 16 and an 18. And they had thick Evans hydraulic heads on them. This tom here was second-hand. I got it at some pawn shop. Didn't even have hardware for the bottom head. So it didn't sound real good. So we're playing in big arenas opening up for the Kinks. And the engineer comes up to me and says, you know, your floor toms don't sound great in these big rooms. Do you have can you tune them up, or do you have a smaller drum? I said, you know what, I'll try to tune them up, but they can only go so high. They're 16 and 18 inches. So I said, I do have a smaller tom, but if I ask John Mellencamp to put a smaller tom up, he'll tell me to go to hell. So I said, I got an idea. You go tell him that his vocals will sound better if you put this tom here. And I don't know what he said to him, but he said sure. So I put the tom there because I got so used to playing this tom here, and I wasn't into moving my hi-hat over, and I didn't know where to put it, so I put it there. So it just became my thing.
Is it tuned higher?
Oh yeah. I beat it down a little bit. Funny how that happened. But a lot of times what I do is I don't play this tom. If I'm doing fills in a song, I don't play this tom at first. I'll go, you know, and then next one. I keep adding more and more toms as I go through a song. That's sometimes one way of doing it. Back there, yeah.